There is a battle inside of you, a war between who you were and who God is calling you to be. You feel it, don't you? That tension, that struggle, the weight of surrender. You know God has begun a great work in you, but at times the process feels slow. The transformation seems incomplete. You wonder, God, when will I finally see the change? When will I step into the fullness of what you've started? But let me tell you something. God never starts something He does not intend to finish. His hands are still upon you. His purpose is still alive. And today, as we lift our voices in prayer, something is about to shift. Stay with me. This might be the moment that changes everything. There comes a time in your walk with God when you must decide whether you will keep wrestling or finally let go. Surrender is not weakness. It is the most powerful thing you can do in the hands of the Almighty. When you release your plans, your worries, your doubts, and your fears into His hands, something supernatural begins to happen. The weight you have been carrying was never yours to bear. The struggles that have exhausted you were never meant to define you. But the enemy knows that if he can keep you fighting against God's process, he can keep you from experiencing the fullness of God's plan. The reason so many people struggle in their faith is that they are trying to control what was never meant to be controlled. They pray, but they do not trust. They worship, but they do not obey. They believe, but only until things get difficult. But let me remind you, faith is not just believing when things are easy. Faith is trusting when you cannot see. Faith is standing firm when the storms rage. And faith is surrendering, not because you have given up, but because you know that the one who began this good work in you will surely complete it. Think about this. When Jesus called Peter to walk on water, Peter was able to do the impossible as long as his eyes were fixed on Jesus. But the moment he focused on the wind and the waves, he began to sink. Why? Because fear entered his heart. Fear is the enemy of surrender. Fear whispers that God is not in control. Fear tries to convince you that if you let go, everything will fall apart. But let me tell you the truth. When you finally surrender, that is when God steps in. That is when the miracles begin. That is when the breakthrough comes. Look at your life right now. Look at the areas where you are still holding on. Is it your future? Is it your past? Is it your finances, your health, your relationships? Whatever it is, God is asking you to trust Him. The same God who breathed life into you, who formed you in your mother's womb, who has kept you through every storm, is the same God who will finish what He started in you. Do you remember the story of Abraham? God told him to leave his country, to step into the unknown. Abraham had no map, no plan, no assurance, except the promise of God. And that was enough. He surrendered his own understanding and walked by faith. And because of that, God made him the father of nations. But what if Abraham had refused to let go? What if he had said, Lord, I need to see the full picture before I move? He would have missed the destiny God had prepared for him. You see, the problem is not that God is not working. The problem is that we are not trusting. We pray for direction, but resist when God takes us down a path we did not expect. We ask for blessings, but reject the process required to receive them. We want to be used by God, but we are unwilling to let go of what is holding us back. But today I challenge you. Will you surrender? Will you release your fears, your doubts, your need for control? Because God is waiting. He has been waiting. He has been shaping you, molding you, refining you. The delays you have experienced were not denials. The pain you have endured was not pointless. The journey you have walked was not in vain. Every moment was a step in the process of His divine plan. And now He is asking you to trust Him completely. Some of you have been praying for a breakthrough, but your breakthrough is on the other side of your surrender. Some of you have been asking for a sign, but God is waiting for your obedience. Some of you have been longing for a move of God, but God is saying, let go and watch what I will do. Look at the life of Jesus. The greatest act of surrender in history was when He knelt in the Garden of Gethsemane and prayed, not my will, but yours be done. At that moment, he showed us the power of true surrender. And because he surrendered, salvation came to all of us. What if your surrender is the key to what God wants to do next? What if your surrender is the doorway to the miracle you have been waiting for? This is not just another prayer. This is a moment of decision. Will you continue to struggle, or will you finally lay it all down? Will you continue to fight against God's process, or will you trust Him completely? The choice is yours. But remember, God finishes what He starts, and He has not forgotten you. So right now, wherever you are, take a deep breath. Release every fear. Let go of every doubt. Lift your hands and say, Lord, I surrender. Because when you do, heaven responds. When you do, chains break. When you do, the weight is lifted. And when you do, God continues the good work He has started in you. And this is just the beginning. When you surrender, you align yourself with God's perfect will. You step into the flow of His divine purpose, where nothing is wasted and everything works for your good. But the truth is, surrender is not always easy. It requires trust, complete and unwavering trust. It requires you to lay down your own plans, your own expectations, and even your own understanding. That's why so many struggle with it. They want God to move, but they still want to hold on to control. They want God to lead, but they are afraid to let go of what is familiar. They want God to bless them, but they hesitate when He asks them to step out in faith. The enemy knows that if he can keep you in a place of hesitation, he can keep you from walking in God's promises. That's why he fills your mind with doubts. That's why he reminds you of your past failures. That's why he tries to convince you that surrender is dangerous. But let me tell you something. The safest place you can be is in the hands of God. The greatest security you can have is in His will. And the greatest freedom you will ever experience is when you finally let go and trust Him fully. Think about Joseph. God gave him a dream, a vision of his future. But before that dream became a reality, Joseph had to go through betrayal, slavery, imprisonment, and years of waiting. If Joseph had refused to surrender, if he had tried to fight against God's process, he would have never made it to the palace. But because he surrendered, because he trusted God even in the darkest moments, he was elevated to a position greater than he could have ever imagined. Some of you feel like Joseph right now. You have dreams, but you are stuck in a season of waiting. You know God has called you, but you don't see how it will happen. You have promises from God, but everything around you seems to be going in the opposite direction. But hear me today. The delay is not the end. The process is not the punishment. God is preparing you. He is refining you. He is positioning you for something greater than you can comprehend. But you must surrender. You must trust that He knows what He is doing. You see, when you surrender, you don't lose control. You give it to the one who controls everything. When you surrender, you don't give up. You step into a greater plan. When you surrender, you don't become weak. You become stronger than ever, because now you are operating in God's strength, not your own. The enemy wants you to believe that surrender is a sign of failure. But in God's kingdom, surrender is the gateway to victory. Moses had to surrender his fears before he could lead the Israelites out of Egypt. David had to surrender his comfort before he could step into his anointing as king. The disciples had to surrender their boats, their businesses, their entire lives to follow Jesus. And every time they surrendered, they stepped into something far greater than they ever imagined. What if God is calling you to surrender something today? What if He is asking you to trust Him with that situation you've been trying to fix on your own? What if He is saying, let go and watch what I will do? You see, surrender is not just a one-time decision. It's a daily choice. Every day you must wake up and say, Lord, I trust You more than I trust myself. I believe Your plan is better than mine. I release my fears, my doubts, my control, and I place everything in Your hands. When you live this way, you start to see God move in ways you never expected. Doors begin to open. Miracles begin to unfold. The very things you were striving for begin to chase after you. There are things in your life right now that God wants to do, but He is waiting for you to surrender. There are prayers that have not been answered yet, not because God is unwilling, but because He is waiting for you to fully trust Him. There are breakthroughs that have been delayed, not because God has forgotten, but because He is waiting for you to let go of your way and embrace His. Surrender is an act of faith. It says, God, even when I don't understand, I trust you. Even when I can't see the full picture, I believe you are working. Even when I feel like I am losing, I know you are leading me to something greater. That is the kind of faith that moves mountains. That is the kind of faith that releases the power of God into your life. When you surrender, you allow God to shape you. And sometimes the shaping process is painful. Sometimes it requires breaking before rebuilding. Sometimes it means letting go of relationships that are not aligned with His will. Sometimes it means stepping into uncomfortable places where your faith is stretched. But every time, without fail, surrender leads to greater glory. Every time, surrender positions you for the next level. The reason many people remain stuck is that they refuse to surrender. They want God to move, but they are still holding on to their own plans. They want God to bless them, but they are unwilling to let go of what is blocking the blessing. They want God to use them, but they are still clinging to their comfort zones. But God is saying today, if you will trust me, I will take you further than you have ever dreamed. If you will surrender, I will open doors you never thought possible. If you will let go, I will pour out blessings that will overwhelm you. Look at the life of Paul. He was once a man who persecuted Christians, a man who thought he was doing the right thing in his own strength. But the moment he surrendered, the moment he laid down his own agenda and embraced God's call, his entire life changed. He went from being an enemy of the gospel to one of its greatest messengers. That is the power of surrender. It takes you from where you are and positions you for divine purpose. Some of you are standing at the edge of something great, but you are afraid to take that step of faith. You are afraid to let go of what is comfortable. You are afraid of what surrender might require. But let me tell you, whatever you give up for God, He will replace with something greater. Whatever you let go of, He will multiply in ways you cannot imagine. Whatever you surrender, He will use to bring you into a destiny beyond your wildest dreams. Right now, God is calling you deeper. He is calling you to a place of complete trust. He is asking you to lay down every burden, every fear, every hesitation, and simply say, Lord, I surrender. When you do, something shifts in the spirit. When you do, heaven moves on your behalf. When you do, chains that have held you back begin to break. This is the moment, this is the time. God has started a good work in you, and He will complete it. He is not finished with you. He has not forgotten you. The process may not always make sense, but His ways are higher. His plans are greater. And if you will trust Him, if you will fully surrender, you will step into something beyond anything you could have ever asked, thought, or imagined. So right now, wherever you are, lift your hands, lift your heart, and say, Lord, I surrender. Because when you do, the work He has started in you will continue. And what He has begun, He will surely finish. Surrender is not just about giving up control. It is about stepping into divine alignment. When you surrender to God, you are not losing. You are positioning yourself for something greater than you can comprehend. But the challenge of surrender is that it often requires you to walk into the unknown. It calls you to step into a place where you don't have all the answers, where you don't see the full picture, and where you must rely on faith alone. That is why so many hesitate. They want to follow God, but they also want certainty. They want to trust Him, but they also want to know exactly how everything will work out. Yet faith does not work that way. Faith is trusting in what you cannot see, believing in what has not yet manifested, and walking forward even when the path ahead is unclear. There are things God is calling you to do, but you are hesitating because you don't have all the details. There are places He wants to take you, but you are afraid because you don't see the full picture. But if you wait until you have all the answers, you will never move. If you wait until you fully understand, you will never step into the destiny God has prepared for you. That is why surrender is essential. It is saying, God, I don't need to know every step. I don't need to have all the answers. I don't need to understand everything. I just need to know that you are leading me. And when you live like that, you walk in the supernatural, you live in the miraculous, you experience God in ways you never imagined. Think about Abraham. God told him to leave his country, his family, and everything he knew, and go to a land that he would show him. Notice that God did not give him all the details. He didn't give him a map. He didn't explain exactly where he was going. He simply said, go. And because Abraham surrendered, because he obeyed without hesitation, he stepped into a promise that was bigger than anything he could have imagined. His obedience led to a covenant that impacted generations. His surrender positioned him for a legacy that still speaks today. The same principle applies to you. There are things in your future that you cannot yet see, but they are waiting on your surrender. There are breakthroughs ahead of you, but they require you to trust God fully. There are blessings with your name on them, but they are on the other side of your obedience. The question is, will you trust Him? Will you surrender even when you don't understand? Will you say yes, even when you don't see the full picture? The enemy will always try to convince you to hold back. He will try to fill your mind with fear. He will remind you of past disappointments. He will tell you that surrender is too risky. But the truth is, the real risk is refusing to surrender. The real danger is staying in a place of fear and hesitation, because when you refuse to move forward, you forfeit the blessings God has in store for you. When you hold on to your own plans, you limit what God can do in your life. But when you let go, when you truly surrender, heaven moves on your behalf. God steps into your situation and things begin to shift. Many of you are holding on to things that God has been asking you to release. You are holding on to relationships that are not aligned with His will. You are holding on to fears that are keeping you bound. You are holding on to old mindsets that are blocking your breakthrough. But God is saying, let it go. Trust me. I have something better. The problem is, many people want God to give them something new while they are still clinging to the old. They want Him to bring fresh blessings while they are still holding on to what He told them to release. But you cannot receive what God has for you if your hands are full of what He asks you to surrender. Look at the disciples. When Jesus called them, they immediately left their boats, their nets, and their old lives to follow Him. They didn't hesitate. They didn't argue. They didn't ask for a full explanation. They simply surrendered. And because they surrendered, they walked with Jesus. They witnessed miracles. They were part of history. Their obedience led to an outpouring of God's power that changed the world. What if they had hesitated? What if they had said, Lord, let us think about it first? What if they had tried to hold on to their old lives while also following Jesus? They would have missed the greatest calling of their lives. And the same is true for you. There is a calling on your life. There is a purpose God has assigned to you. But it requires surrender. It requires obedience. It requires faith. Some of you are waiting for everything to be perfect before you surrender. You are waiting for the right time, the right situation, the right circumstances. But if you wait for perfect conditions, you will never step out. If you wait until it makes complete sense, you will never move forward. Surrender is not about waiting for things to be perfect. It is about trusting God in the middle of the uncertainty. It is about saying, Lord, I don't have all the answers, but I trust you. I don't see how this will work out, but I believe you are leading me. I don't know every step, but I surrender to your plan. There is something powerful that happens when you truly surrender. Worry begins to fade. Fear begins to lose its grip. Anxiety is replaced with peace. Because when you surrender, you place your burdens in God's hands. When you surrender, you are no longer relying on your own strength. You are leaning on His. That is why Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." When you surrender, you enter into that divine rest. You no longer have to strive. You no longer have to carry the weight on your own. You no longer have to figure everything out. Because now you are in the hands of the one who holds the universe. There are people right now who are tired because they have been trying to do everything in their own strength. You are exhausted because you have been fighting battles that belong to God. You are drained because you have been carrying burdens that He never intended for you to carry. But the moment you surrender, the moment you release it all into His hands, you will experience a peace that surpasses all understanding. Think about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was facing the greatest trial of his life. The weight of the cross was before him, the suffering was unimaginable. And yet in that moment he prayed, "Not my will, but yours be done." That is the ultimate act of surrender. That is the greatest example of trusting God, even when the path ahead is painful. And because of that surrender, salvation came to the world. Because of that obedience, the greatest victory was won. If Jesus himself had to surrender, how much more do we need to surrender? If Jesus trusted the Father completely, how much more should we trust Him? There is no surrender without trust. There is no obedience without faith. But when you let go, when you fully trust God with your life, you step into a realm where miracles happen, where doors open, and where divine favor surrounds you. Right now, there is a moment before you. A moment to say, "Lord, I surrender. I give you my plans, I give you my worries, I give you my future, I give you everything, because I trust that what you have for me is greater than what I could ever plan for myself." That is the place where transformation happens. That is the place where heaven moves. That is the place where God finishes the good work He started in you. Because He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. He will not leave you halfway. He will not abandon you in the process. He will not forget the promises He made. But you must trust Him. You must surrender. You must say yes. And when you do, you will step into a life beyond anything you could have imagined. Surrender is the key that unlocks the fullness of God's purpose in your life. It is the moment you stop wrestling with God and start walking with Him. The moment you stop resisting His plan and start flowing in His will. The moment you realize that holding on is actually slowing you down, and releasing it all to Him is what truly sets you free. The enemy wants you to think that surrender is weakness, that letting go means you are giving up. But in the kingdom of God, surrender is not defeat. It is the beginning of victory. It is the place where divine strength is made perfect in your weakness. It is the moment when the power of God begins to work in your life in ways you never imagined. There is someone right now who is struggling to let go. You are caught between what you want and what God is calling you to. You feel the tension between your desires and His will, and the battle within you is exhausting. But I want you to hear this clearly. You will never step into the fullness of your destiny until you surrender completely. Partial obedience is still disobedience. Halfway surrender is still resistance. God is not calling you to give Him a portion of your heart. He is calling you to give Him everything. That is where the breakthrough happens. That is where transformation begins. That is where the chains that have been holding you back finally break. There are people who are holding on to pain from their past, afraid to release it because they don't know who they will be without it. You have identified so much with your struggles that you don't know how to live without them. But God is saying, let it go. I have something greater for you. The weight you have been carrying, the burdens you have been struggling with, the wounds you have been nursing, none of it belongs to you anymore. When Jesus went to the cross, He carried all of it so that you wouldn't have to. But you must surrender it to Him. You must make the choice to stop carrying what He already paid for. Look at Moses. He was a man who had every reason to believe that his past disqualified him. He had made mistakes. He had run away. He had spent years in the wilderness hiding from the very place where his destiny awaited. But when God called him, He didn't ask Moses for perfection. He didn't ask Moses to prove himself. He simply said, "Go." And Moses had a choice. Continue holding on to fear and excuses, or surrender to the call of God. His surrender led to the deliverance of an entire nation. His obedience opened the door for miracles that had never been seen before. What would have happened if he had refused? What if he had stayed in the wilderness, convinced that he wasn't good enough? He would have missed the greatest calling of his life. And the same is true for you. There is a destiny on your life that is waiting on your surrender. There are things God has planned for you that you have not yet seen, but they are on the other side of your obedience. Some of you are wrestling with decisions. You feel God pulling you in one direction, but your mind is telling you to stay where you are. You feel Him calling you to step out, but fear is whispering reasons to hold back. But I want to tell you something today. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Every moment you hesitate, every time you second-guess God, you are delaying the breakthrough that is waiting for you. You are postponing the blessings that are already prepared. God is not asking you to understand everything. He is asking you to trust Him. He is not requiring you to have all the answers. He is requiring you to have faith. Think about Peter when he was in the boat and Jesus was walking on the water. Jesus called him to come. And in that moment, Peter had a choice. Stay in the safety of the boat or step out in faith. And as long as he kept his eyes on Jesus, he walked on water. But the moment he looked at the wind and the waves, the moment he focused on the circumstances instead of the one who called him, he began to sink. That is what happens when we hesitate in surrender. The moment we take our eyes off of God and start focusing on what could go wrong, we begin to sink into fear. We start drowning in doubt. But when we keep our eyes on Him, when we move in faith, we step into the miraculous. Many of you are waiting for God to move, but He is waiting for you to surrender. You want Him to open doors, but He is waiting for you to trust Him enough to walk through them. You want Him to bring new opportunities, but He is asking if you are ready to let go of the old ones. The truth is, God will not force you to surrender. He will not take from you what you are unwilling to release. Surrender is a choice. It is a decision to say, God, I trust you more than I trust myself. I trust your plans more than I trust my own understanding. I trust your timing more than I trust my impatience. Look at Joseph. He had a dream, a vision from God about his future. But before the promise was fulfilled, he had to go through betrayal, false accusations, and years of waiting. He could have fought back. He could have taken matters into his own hands. But instead, he surrendered to God's process. And because of that surrender, he was elevated to a position greater than he ever imagined. What if he had given up? What if he had refused to trust God in the waiting? He would have missed the fulfillment of his purpose. But because he surrendered, he stepped into everything God had promised. Some of you are in the waiting season right now. You feel stuck. You feel like nothing is moving. You feel like you have been faithful, but you are not seeing the results. And the temptation is to take control, to force things to happen, to move ahead of God. But hear me. The moment you try to take control, you step outside of God's timing. The moment you try to manipulate the outcome, you step outside of His perfect will. And anything you obtain outside of His will, you will have to sustain in your own strength. But what God gives, He sustains. What He ordains, He blesses. But you must trust Him. You must surrender to His timing. You must allow Him to complete the good work He has started in you. There are people listening right now who are tired because they have been trying to make things happen on their own. You have been striving, pushing, and exhausting yourself trying to bring things to pass in your own strength. But God is saying, let me do it. Stop striving and start trusting. Stop worrying and start resting. Stop fighting battles that belong to me. When you surrender, you step into divine rest. You step into supernatural peace. You step into a life where you no longer have to figure everything out because you are being led by the one who already has the answers. Think about the Israelites when they were leaving Egypt. God was leading them to the promised land, but they had to go through the wilderness first. And in that wilderness, they had a choice: trust God or complain, surrender or resist. And many of them chose to resist. They doubted, they murmured, they wanted to go back to the very place God had delivered them from. And because of their lack of surrender, an 11-day journey turned into 40 years of wandering. How many blessings have we delayed because we refuse to trust God? How many breakthroughs have we postponed because we are trying to do things our way instead of surrendering to His way? Right now, there is a moment before you, a moment to say, Lord, I surrender. I let go of my plans, my fears, my doubts, my worries. I trust you. I believe that what you have for me is greater than what I could ever plan for myself. When you surrender like that, heaven moves. When you surrender like that, things begin to shift. When you surrender like that, you align yourself with the divine purpose God has set before you. And when you align with His purpose, nothing can stop what He has ordained for your life. When you truly surrender, you release the need to have all the answers. You release the constant worry about how things will turn out. You stop questioning whether God will come through and start resting in the assurance that He already has everything worked out. Surrender is not passive. It is an act of deep trust. It is saying, God, even when I don't see it, I believe you are working. Even when I don't understand, I trust that your plan is greater than mine. That is where the peace that surpasses all understanding begins to guard your heart and mind. That is where you stop living in fear and start walking in faith. Look at Abraham. God told him to leave his homeland and go to a place He would show him. No map, no details, no clear path. Just a call to trust. And Abraham obeyed, not knowing where he was going, but believing in the one who called him. That is surrender. He didn't ask for guarantees. He didn't demand to see the whole picture. He simply walked in faith. And because of that surrender, he became the father of many nations. But what if he had refused? What if he had stayed where he was, unwilling to step into the unknown? He would have missed the fulfillment of God's promise. And many of us are in that same place, standing at the edge of something greater, but afraid to step forward because we don't have all the details. But God is saying, trust me. Walk by faith, not by sight. Some of you have been trying to hold on to something God has been asking you to release. A relationship, a habit, a plan, a mindset. Something that feels comfortable but is no longer aligned with God's will for your life. And the longer you hold on, the heavier it becomes. The longer you resist, the more you struggle. But freedom comes when you surrender. When you say, God, I don't understand why you're asking me to let this go, but I trust that you see what I cannot see. Surrender is about trusting the heart of God, even when you don't understand His hand. It is about believing that if He is asking you to lay something down, it is only because He has something greater ahead. Think about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. The weight of what was ahead was heavy. He knew the suffering that was coming. He knew the pain, the rejection, the sacrifice. And yet He surrendered. He said, not my will, but yours be done. And because of that surrender, salvation came to the world. If Jesus had resisted, if He had chosen His own comfort over His Father's will, we would not have the redemption we have today. But His surrender brought victory. And the same is true for you. When you surrender, victory follows. When you lay down your will for His, breakthrough comes. When you release control, you make room for God's supernatural power to move in your life. There are some things in your life right now that you have been trying to fix on your own. You have been strategizing, trying to work things out in your own strength, stressing over how things will come together. But God is saying, let go, let me handle it. The moment you surrender is the moment you invite divine intervention. The moment you stop trying to figure everything out is the moment God steps in and does what only He can do. Surrender is not about giving up. It is about giving it to God. It is about placing everything in His hands and trusting that He will take care of it in ways you never could. Some of you are in a waiting season and you are growing weary. You have been faithful, you have been praying, you have been holding on, but it feels like nothing is changing. And the temptation is to step ahead of God, to force things to happen, to try to make your own way. But hear this, the waiting season is not wasted. God is not delaying, He is preparing. And when you surrender to His timing, you position yourself for His best. Look at David. He was anointed as king, but he didn't step into the throne immediately. There was a process, there were battles, there was preparation, and in that waiting he had to trust God's timing. What if he had tried to take the throne by force? What if he had refused to wait? He would have missed the fullness of what God had for him. Some of you have been asking God for direction, but you haven't yet surrendered your own plans. You want Him to lead you, but you are still holding on to your own expectations. And God is saying, if you will surrender your plans, I will give you my purpose. If you will release what you think is best, I will give you what is greater. Proverbs 3:5-6 tells us to trust in the Lord with all our heart and not lean on our own understanding. That means surrendering our logic, our reasoning, our own way of doing things, and fully relying on His wisdom. God is not asking you to have everything figured out. He is asking you to surrender. He is not requiring you to be perfect. He is asking you to trust Him. He is not looking for people who have all the answers. He is looking for people who have a willing heart. And when you surrender, you make room for the miraculous. When you surrender, you open the door for blessings you never expected. When you surrender, you step into the flow of God's divine plan, where every step is ordered, every provision is prepared, and every battle is already won. There is a freedom that comes with surrender, a peace that the world cannot give, a confidence that even when things don't make sense, you are exactly where you need to be because God is leading the way. Some of you have been fighting for control, holding on to things that are no longer meant for you, resisting the shift God is trying to bring into your life. And today He is asking, will you trust me? Will you lay it down? Will you surrender? The moment you do, everything changes. The weight lifts, the fear fades, the uncertainty no longer paralyzes you because you know that your life is in the hands of the One who never fails. Some of you have been afraid to take the next step because you don't see the whole path. But God never promised to show you the whole road. He promised to be your guide. He promised that He would never leave you. He promised that He would go before you and make the crooked places straight. But you must surrender to the process. There are things in your life right now that you don't understand, prayers that seem unanswered, doors that remain closed. But could it be that God is protecting you from something you cannot see? Could it be that what feels like a delay is actually divine redirection? Could it be that what you thought was rejection was actually God's way of making room for something better? When you surrender, you begin to see that everything has purpose, even the closed doors, even the disappointments, even the moments that don't make sense. Because God is not just working on your situation, He is working on you. He is refining you, He is preparing you, He is shaping you for the blessing that is ahead. Look at Job. He lost everything, his wealth, his health, his family, but even in his suffering, he refused to turn away from God. He surrendered to God's sovereignty. And because of that, God restored everything he had lost, and even more. What if he had given up? What if he had turned his back on God in the middle of his pain? He would have never seen the double portion blessing that was waiting on the other side. And for many of you, the breakthrough is on the other side of your surrender. The blessing is on the other side of your trust. The open door is waiting, but God is asking, will you trust me? Will you let go? Will you surrender? This is not just about one moment of surrender. It is a daily decision. Every day choosing to trust Him. Every day choosing to lay down your will for His. Every day saying, God, I may not understand, but I trust you. I may not see the full picture, but I know you are leading me. I may not have all the answers, but I know that you are in control. And when you live a surrendered life, you live a life of peace, a life of purpose, a life where miracles become normal, because you are fully aligned with the will of God. The moment you surrender is the moment heaven moves. The moment you surrender is the moment the impossible becomes possible. The moment you surrender is the moment you step into the destiny God has prepared for you since the beginning of time. Surrender is not a moment, it is a lifestyle. It is a daily decision to trust that God's ways are higher than ours, that His plans are greater than anything we could imagine. When you truly surrender, you release fear, anxiety, and the need for control, and you step into the peace that comes from knowing your life is in the hands of a faithful God. Abraham walked in surrender, and he became the father of many nations. Jesus surrendered in Gethsemane, and he brought salvation to the world. Every great move of God in Scripture came through someone who chose to surrender. Today, God is calling you to lay down the burden of trying to figure everything out, to stop wrestling with what only He can fix, to trust Him even when you don't understand. If you surrender, He will move. If you trust Him, He will lead you. If you let go, He will bring you into the fullness of His plan. The breakthrough you seek is on the other side of your surrender. Lift your hands, open your heart, and say, Lord, I surrender. Continue the good work you've started in me, and watch as He does exceedingly abundantly more than you could ever ask or imagine. There comes a moment, a divine stirring, when life as you know it is about to shift. Not just a minor change, not a passing breeze, but a great and irreversible transformation. And if you listen closely, if you still the mind and open the heart, you will see the signs before it happens. These signs are not coincidences, nor are they accidents of fate. They are the whispers of God, the unseen hand rearranging your world, preparing you for what is to come. The first great sign is an unsettling, a divine discontent. That which once brought you joy may now feel empty. You may sense a restlessness, as if the walls of your life are closing in, no longer containing the vastness of who you are meant to be. This is not a time to despair. It is a time to rejoice. For when the soul outgrows its current reality, God is calling it into a new one. What seems like discomfort is the gentle breaking of chains. The second sign appears as a crumbling, the dissolution of what once seemed stable. Perhaps relationships shift, opportunities fade, familiar paths become impassable, the very ground beneath your feet may tremble, and you may wonder if you are losing everything, but I tell you, nothing real is ever lost. What is leaving is only that which no longer serves the life God is bringing forth in you. Do not resist. Do not grasp at what is falling away. Trust, for a greater design is unfolding, one that you could not yet see with the eyes of the past. And then there is the third and most powerful sign, the sudden influx of vision, desire, and inner knowing. When God is about to change your life forever, a new dream begins to stir within you. It arrives as an unshakable feeling, a vision that will not leave you. You see yourself somewhere you have never been. You feel drawn towards something without logical explanation. It may seem beyond your reach. But I tell you, if it were not meant for you, you would not see it. Desire is the language of the divine, the promise of what is already yours if you dare to claim it. And so, if you have felt this restlessness, if your world has been shaken, if a vision is pulling at your soul, do not shrink back in fear. Lift your head, for God is not taking something from you. He is preparing you for something far greater. Move forward in faith, knowing that the door is already open and the path is already made. The greatest transformations come not through force, but through surrender. Trust, believe, and step into the life that is waiting for you. When God moves in your life, He does not whisper politely at your door, hoping you'll notice. No, He shakes the very foundations of your being, calls forth the soul that has long slumbered, and demands that you rise into your true destiny. This is why the signs are unmistakable. They are not quiet suggestions, they are divine disruptions, preparing you for what is already yours. And yet, so many, when faced with these signs, resist. They see discomfort and call it misfortune. They see loss and call it punishment. They feel the pull of a new vision but label it impossible. But hear me, God never disturbs a life unless He intends to transform it. What you call uncertainty is simply the undoing of a lesser version of yourself, making way for the greater. That divine discontent gnawing at you, it is the voice of the Creator within, refusing to let you settle where you do not belong. You may try to ignore it, distract yourself, drown it out with the noise of the world, but it will not leave. It will grow louder, and the longer you resist, the more life will press upon you until you have no choice but to answer the call. And then, when the familiar begins to crumble, when relationships shift, when doors close, when the things you once leaned on begin to fall away, you may feel as though you are being abandoned. But you are not being abandoned. You are being redirected. When God is about to change your life, He removes every crutch, every false foundation, so that you stand fully in His plan. If you are clinging to what is leaving, let go. What is coming is greater. And oh, the final sign, that unshakable vision, that desire that will not leave you alone, it appears not as a random wish, but as a knowing, deep, undeniable, and persistent. It will not release you because it is not coming from you. It is coming through you. It is the future calling. It is your higher self remembering who you are. Do not ask if it is possible. It is already done in the mind of God. Your only task is to step forward in faith. So, I ask you now, will you heed the signs or will you resist them? Will you shrink back in fear or will you stand boldly and say, I am ready? Because the truth is this, life as you know it is already gone. What is left is your choice. Will you embrace what is coming? Will you allow yourself to become what you were always meant to be? This is your moment. Your destiny is unfolding, and all of heaven is waiting for you to take the first step. When God is about to change your life forever, He does not ask for your permission. He commands your awakening. And this awakening is not gentle. It is not convenient. It does not arrive wrapped in comfort. No, it shakes you to your core. It dismantles the illusions you have built. It breaks you open, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. You may wonder why everything feels uncertain, why the old ways no longer satisfy, why the things that once fit now feel foreign. It is because you are no longer who you were. You are no longer meant for the life you once lived. Your spirit has already moved ahead, and now the rest of you must follow. You see, transformation is not about waiting for things to change around you. It is about becoming the one who commands the change. The moment you realize this, truly realize it, your entire world shifts. Because God does not bring new life to those who insist on clinging to the old. He brings it to those who are willing to step into the unknown, with nothing but faith as their foundation. If your life is shaking, if doors are closing, if your heart is stirring, this is your confirmation. The very thing you are afraid to lose is the thing that is keeping you from what is greater. Do not beg for the past to return. It will not. Instead, stand in the awareness that what is coming is so much greater that you will one day thank God for everything that is leaving now. But hear me, you must act, not tomorrow, not when it is comfortable, not when it is easy, now. The moment of hesitation is the moment of delay, and heaven does not wait for those who refuse to move. There is a version of you, stronger, freer, wiser, waiting on the other side of your fear. There is a life, richer, fuller, beyond imagination, waiting for your arrival. There is a destiny, written in divine ink, that can only be lived by the one who dares to step forward. So the question is not whether God is changing your life. The question is whether you will surrender to it, whether you will embrace the signs, whether you will rise into what is already yours. For the kingdom of heaven is within you. The power to transform your life is not outside of you, it is within you. You were never meant to beg for blessings, you were meant to call them forth. You were never meant to wait for a miracle, you are the miracle. So arise, step forward, and watch as the heavens align in your favor, for the time is now, and the change is already here. There comes a time when you must decide, will you remain as you have always been, or will you become what you were always meant to be? This is that time. You have seen the signs, you have felt the stirring, you know deep within that something is shifting. This is no accident, this is not a mere season, this is a divine appointment. You did not come into this life to live in hesitation. You did not come here to exist in cycles of doubt and delay. You came here to create, to transform, to become a living expression of the divine. And now, at this very moment, God is calling you to step forward. Feel it. The old life is crumbling, not as a loss, but as a release. What is breaking apart is only that which cannot come with you. And if it cannot come with you, it was never yours to keep. You are being stripped of limitation, cleansed of illusion, prepared for a life so abundant, so free, so extraordinary, that you cannot yet fully comprehend it. But here is the truth. You do not need to understand it. You only need to say yes. Yes to the calling. Yes to the discomfort of growth. Yes to the unknown, where miracles are born. Because on the other side of that yes, everything shifts. The delays end, the doors open, the vision that once seemed distant suddenly begins to manifest before your eyes. But you must believe before you see. You must trust before it arrives. This is the test not of suffering, but of faith. Because God does not withhold. God does not tease. What is yours has already been given. The only thing that determines when it arrives is when you decide to claim it. So claim it. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for a sign greater than the one you have already received. This moment is the sign. This moment is the confirmation. This moment is heaven's whisper saying, move now, for everything you desire is waiting for you. So rise. Stand in your power. Step into the life that has been calling you. For you are not just on the brink of change, you are the change. And once you step forward, you will never look back. This is your time, the shift is here, and the life you were born for is waiting. You were never meant for smallness. You were never meant to live in lack, in fear, in hesitation. You were born to create, to expand, to rise. And everything that has happened up to this point, every struggle, every delay, every moment of uncertainty has not been working against you. It has been preparing you. Because God does not call the unprepared. He does not awaken those who are not ready. If you have felt the shift, if you have seen the signs, if you have been drawn into this very moment, it is because you are ready. Ready to release, ready to step forward, ready to receive. And yet, so many stand at the edge of their destiny and hesitate. They let their old fears speak louder than their new vision. They let their past define their future. They ask, what if I fail? When they should be asking, what if I succeed beyond my wildest imagination? And so I tell you now, there is no more waiting. The hesitation ends here. Because there is a force moving within you, a power greater than anything you have ever known. And the moment you surrender to it, the moment you stop fighting the change that is calling you, everything will unfold with divine precision. But surrender is not passive. It is not sitting back, hoping for a miracle. It is stepping forward with faith so unshakable that the very universe must bow in response. It is walking as if the promise is already fulfilled. It is speaking as if the miracle has already arrived. Because in truth it has. There is no time left for doubt, no room left for fear. You have been called, the transformation has begun, and there is no going back. So I ask you, will you rise? Will you step into the life that has been waiting for you? Will you trust that every closed door was a blessing? That every loss was a redirection? That every delay was divine timing moving on your behalf? Because the life that is coming, the life that is already yours, is beyond anything you have imagined. And the only thing standing between you and it is the decision to claim it. So claim it now, step into it now, walk boldly, speak boldly, believe boldly, for the heavens have already moved, the path has already been cleared, and your new life has already begun. This is your moment, this is your awakening, and from this day forward, nothing will ever be the same. You have been waiting, watching, wondering when the shift will happen. You have asked for signs, for confirmation, for proof that this transformation is real, and now here it is. Not in the form of a distant promise, not in the form of a future hope, but now, right here. This very moment is the threshold between the life you have known and the life that is calling you. What you feel stirring inside you is not just a passing thought. It is not a fleeting desire. It is the voice of the divine within you, the blueprint of your highest self, the memory of who you were always meant to be. And it will not be silent. It will not fade away. It will not stop calling you forward. But here is where many falter. They see the shift, they feel the signs, but they hesitate. They cling to the familiar, even as it crumbles beneath them. They mistake the breaking apart for destruction, when in truth it is the birth of something greater. Do you not see? The old is not being taken from you, it is being removed for you. The things that no longer serve you, the places you have outgrown, the limitations that have held you back, they are being cleared. Not as punishment, not as loss, but as preparation. Because the life that is waiting for you requires you to be free, free from doubt, free from fear, free from the version of yourself that was never meant to last. And so the final question remains. Will you step forward? Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, not when every detail makes sense. Now. Because destiny does not wait for those who hesitate. The power is in this moment, in the decision you make now. You may not see the whole path, but that is not your concern. Your only task is to take the first step in faith, to trust that if you move, the way will be revealed, to believe so deeply, so completely, that heaven itself bends to the force of your certainty. And when you do, you will see what was always true. You were never stuck. You were never trapped. The doors were never locked. It was only your own hesitation that kept you in place. But now, the hesitation is gone. The waiting is over. The shift has already begun. So step forward, speak boldly, move with unwavering faith. For God has not just called you, He has chosen you. And everything you desire, everything you have prayed for, everything you have dreamed in the quiet of your soul, it is already done. This is your new beginning. The time is now. And from this moment on, nothing will ever be the same again. For too long you have danced on the edge of your destiny, one foot in the past, one foot in the future, hesitant to leap into the unknown. But hear me now. God does not work in hesitation. He does not move through the timid. He does not part seas for those who refuse to step into the water. If you have felt the shaking, if you have seen the signs, if you have known in the deepest part of your soul that change is upon you, then this is not a time to shrink back. This is a time to step boldly forward, to claim the life that has been calling you, to declare with unwavering certainty, I am ready. But readiness is not just a feeling. It is action, it is movement. It is the refusal to stay in a life that no longer fits. It is the courage to let go of what is safe, of what is familiar, of what is known, so that you can step into something greater. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Growth always does. The caterpillar does not transform into the butterfly without first dissolving into nothingness. The seed does not break open without the pressure of the soil. The old must die so the new can be born. And that is what is happening to you. The things that are falling apart are not happening to you, they are happening for you. The people who are leaving, the doors that are closing, the structures that are collapsing, it is all divine intervention. Because the life God has prepared for you cannot be built on weak foundations. So do not mourn what is leaving, do not cling to what is being removed, instead rejoice, because what is coming is greater. What is coming is the manifestation of the vision that has been growing inside you. What is coming is the answer to the prayers you once whispered in the dark. But here is the truth. You must move before you see it. You must believe before it is tangible. This is the test. This is the moment where faith is not just a word, but a force, a power, an unshakable certainty that drives you forward. God has already set the stage. The opportunities have already been aligned. The miracles have already been released. The only thing left is you. Will you step into it? Will you stop waiting? Will you walk as if the promise is already fulfilled? Because that is the key, moving as if it is already done. Not begging, not hoping, not wondering, but knowing that heaven has already moved on your behalf, knowing that the doors are already open, knowing that the only thing left to do is walk through them. To walk, move, claim the life that is yours. For this is not just a shift, this is not just a season, this is your awakening. This is the moment when everything changes. And from this day forward, you will never be the same again. And so we arrive at the final moment, the point where decision meets destiny, where faith must rise above fear, where you stand face to face with the undeniable truth. You were never meant to remain where you are. The signs have been given. The stirring within you is not random. It is the divine call to something greater. The old life, the former version of you, is already fading. The only question that remains is, will you step forward? Because there comes a time when hesitation is no longer an option, a time when the waiting must end, a time when you must stop asking for another sign and start moving in faith. That time is now. This is not the end of something, it is the beginning of a life where you no longer chase after blessings, but walk in the certainty that they are already yours. A life where you no longer wait for opportunities, but create them. A life where you no longer shrink back, but step boldly into your divine calling. And so, take a deep breath and feel it. This is the moment of transformation. The door has been opened, the path has been cleared, and heaven is waiting for you to take the first step. Go now, not with fear, but with power, not with doubt, but with certainty, not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be. For God has already moved, the shift has already begun, and from this moment forward, nothing will ever be the same again. Imagine for a moment that your entire life, everything you have ever known, is but a dream within the vast imagination of God. You believe you are bound by circumstances, confined by time, limited by the things you see. But what if I told you that you are far greater than you think? What if the very struggles you face are not obstacles, but whispers, nudging you towards something beyond comprehension? There is a force moving through all things, shaping destinies, breaking chains, lifting veils. It is not the hand of chance or the cold laws of nature, but the divine orchestration of a power so immense, so precise, that if you could see its full scope, it would leave you breathless. You may think you are waiting on miracles, but the truth is, miracles are waiting on you. You stand at the edge of a revelation, one that will shatter the illusion of limitation and awaken you to a reality far greater than the one you now know. This is not a message of hope alone, it is a call to remembrance, a call to awaken to the truth of who you are, and the boundless plan set in motion for you before time began. You have been told that life is a series of random events, that you must struggle and strive, that destiny is out of your hands. But what if I told you that everything unfolding in your life, every joy, every trial, every unexpected twist, is part of a plan so vast, so intricate, that your mind could scarcely contain it? You were never meant to wander aimlessly, to live in fear, to question your worth. The world may have convinced you that you are small, but God's plan is not concerned with how things appear. It is not limited by what you see, nor by what others believe about you. It is infinite, unshakable, a divine force moving beneath the surface of all things. And whether you recognize it or not, it is working for you. The road ahead may seem uncertain. The circumstances before you may appear impossible. But do not be deceived by appearances. Do not let what you see with your natural eyes determine what you believe is possible. The unseen world is more real than the one you touch, and it is from that unseen world that all things are born. There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart. The doors that once stood open slam shut. The path you thought would lead you to joy turns to dust beneath your feet. And in that moment, when all seems lost, you may wonder, where is God in this? Has He abandoned me? Has He forgotten the promises spoken over my life? But I tell you this, what you see as an ending is merely the shifting of the heavens, the rearranging of time itself to make way for something greater than you have dared to imagine. There is no mistake, no failure, no setback that can hinder what has already been ordained for you. What seems like a delay is not a delay at all. It is a preparation, it is the unfolding of divine intention in a way that your limited mind cannot yet perceive. What you call waiting is, in truth, a sacred becoming. A transformation that will reveal in due time that everything was always happening for you, never against you. You have been placed in this world not to be a spectator, not to be a victim of chance, but to awaken to the truth that all things are possible. The moment you dare to believe, the moment you cast aside doubt, and step into the knowing that you are an instrument of something far greater, everything begins to shift. Doors open, paths clear, people are drawn into your life as if by magic. But this is not magic, it is law. It is the law of faith, the law of creation, the law that governs all things. Look back on your life. Reflect on the moments when you thought you had reached the end, only to find that something greater was waiting just beyond the horizon. You have been guided all along, even when you did not see it, even when you doubted. There was never a moment when you were alone, never a time when divine hands were not shaping your destiny. Do you feel the pull in your spirit? That gentle urging, that quiet voice whispering that something more is coming? That is the call. The call to step into the fullness of your purpose, to stop settling for the life the world tells you is possible, and to step into the life that has already been written for you. But know this, God's plan is not small. It is not ordinary. It does not conform to human expectation. It does not fit neatly within the limitations of logic. It is bigger than you think, bigger than you have imagined, bigger than anything you have yet dared to dream. And because it is so big, the road to it may not look the way you expected. There will be moments when everything seems to fall away, when the familiar is stripped from your hands, when you are left standing in the unknown. Do not fear these moments. They are not punishment. They are not rejection. They are refinement. They are preparation. When everything is being taken away, it is because you are being positioned for something greater. When one door closes, it is because 1,000 others are being prepared to open. You were never meant for an ordinary existence. You were never meant to live beneath your potential, to shrink in the face of adversity, to allow the voices of doubt to dictate your path. The power that formed the stars, that breathed galaxies into existence, resides within you. You are not separate from it. You are not apart from it. You are an expression of it. If only you could see yourself as you truly are. If only you could see the greatness that has been woven into your being, you would never again doubt. You would never again settle. You would walk forward with the certainty that nothing can stand in your way, that every challenge is merely a step toward the greater unfolding of your destiny. God's plan for you is not small, because you were never meant to live a small life. You were meant to expand, to rise, to step into places you never thought possible. But you must let go of the old. You must release the fear, the doubt, the belief that you are unworthy or incapable. Those are illusions, shadows cast by the mind. The truth is far greater, and so the time has come. The moment is now. No more waiting, no more hesitating, no more wondering if you are ready. You are ready. You always have been. Step forward. Believe and watch as the impossible becomes your reality. You have been conditioned to believe in limitations, to accept a reality bound by the laws of the natural world. But what if I told you that the laws of the unseen are far greater, far more powerful, and that they are already working in your favor? What if I told you that the very thing you call reality is nothing more than a reflection of the deeper, unseen world that exists within you? Every thought you entertain, every belief you hold, every vision you dare to see within your mind, it is all creating, shaping, molding the world around you. You are not here to react to life. You are here to command it. You are not here to be at the mercy of circumstance. You are here to shape circumstance according to the divine blueprint already written for you. But herein lies the challenge. The mind has been trained to see obstacles instead of opportunities, fear instead of faith, impossibilities instead of promises. The moment something does not go as planned, doubt creeps in. The moment a door closes, fear takes over. But listen to me now. There is no such thing as failure in the divine plan. There is no such thing as a setback in the eyes of the infinite. What you see as a delay is in reality a redirection. What you see as loss is often a divine exchange, removing what no longer serves you to make way for what is meant for you. And yet, so often, instead of trusting, you resist. Instead of believing, you retreat. But if only you knew, if only you could glimpse what is waiting on the other side of your surrender, you would never again doubt. God's plan is far bigger than you think, and because it is so big, it may not unfold the way you expected. You may have thought the path would be straight, but instead it twists and turns, leading you through unfamiliar territory. You may have thought the journey would be easy, but instead you find yourself walking through valleys of uncertainty. Yet even in those valleys, the hand of the divine is guiding you, shaping you. There is nothing wasted in the divine ardor. Every moment of waiting, every season of struggle, every unanswered question, it all serves a purpose. You may not see it now, but in time, you will look back and realize that even the detours were part of the plan. Even the heartbreaks, the disappointments, the closed doors, they were necessary, for they led you exactly where you needed to be. Look at the seed that is buried in the ground. To the untrained eye, it appears lifeless, as though nothing is happening. But beneath the soil, something extraordinary is taking place. Roots are forming, strength is being built, transformation is unfolding. And then, in the appointed time, what was hidden breaks through the surface. It was never dead, it was becoming. And so it is with you. You are not forgotten, you are not overlooked, you are not behind, you are becoming. You are being shaped, being strengthened, being positioned for something greater than you have yet to comprehend. Do not mistake the hidden season for the end of the story. Do not mistake the waiting for abandonment. What you call stillness is in truth the greatest movement of all, for it is in the unseen, in the quiet, in the moments when nothing seems to be happening, that the most profound transformations take place. There will come a moment when everything changes, when the thing you have been waiting for suddenly appears, when the doors that were once closed are thrown open, when the weight you have carried is lifted. And in that moment, you will understand, you will see why every delay, every trial, every moment of uncertainty was necessary. But hear me now, you do not have to wait for that moment to believe. You do not have to see it to know it is already done. The moment you decide to trust, to believe without wavering, to walk forward as though the promise has already been fulfilled, that is the moment the shift begins. That is the moment heaven moves on your behalf. Faith is not about seeing and then believing. Faith is believing so completely that the unseen world has no choice but to manifest in the visible. When you walk in this knowing, when you refuse to be moved by what your eyes see and instead hold firm to what you know within, you become unstoppable. The world may say no, but the divine plan says yes. Circumstances may say impossible, but the eternal truth says it is already done. Do not limit God's plan by the limitations of your own mind. You may think you know how things should unfold, but your vision is small compared to the vastness of divine intention. Let go of your attachment to how it should happen and trust that it is happening in the way that is best for you. What is coming will shock you, not because it is impossible, but because it will be far greater, far more beautiful, far more extraordinary than you could have imagined. The time for doubt is over. The time for hesitation has passed. Now is the moment to step fully into the truth of who you are, to align yourself with the divine plan, to stand firm in the knowing that what is meant for you is already making its way into your life. No force in this world can stop it. No circumstance can alter it. No fear can delay it. There is a shift taking place. You feel it. You sense it. You know that something is moving, something is changing, something is unfolding. That is the call. That is the invitation to step beyond what is familiar, to release the old and embrace the new, to trust that the hands that created the universe are holding your life in perfect order. Do not look back. Do not question the path that brought you here. Everything you have walked through, every battle you have fought, every tear you have cried, it has all led to this moment. The moment when you finally understand that you were never waiting on God. God has been waiting on you, waiting for you to believe, waiting for you to step forward, waiting for you to claim what has always been yours. And so I ask you now, will you believe before you see? Will you trust before the doors open? Will you walk forward in faith, knowing that what is coming will not only meet your expectations, but exceed them beyond anything you could have ever imagined? What is coming will shock you, not because it is impossible, but because it is inevitable. It has always been written. It has always been yours. The only question that remains is this: will you finally step into it? You do not yet realize the magnitude of what has been set in motion for you. You stand at the edge of something so vast, so extraordinary, that if you could glimpse even a fraction of it, every doubt, every fear, every hesitation would vanish in an instant. But the plan is not meant to be seen all at once. It is revealed in steps, in whispers, in moments of divine alignment. And it is in those moments that you must decide, will you trust the process even when you do not understand it? Too many live their lives waiting for proof before they believe. They want the evidence before they take the first step. But this is not how the divine operates. What is written for you is not bound by the logic of this world. It is not subject to human reasoning, nor is it limited by time. What has been promised exists already. It is simply waiting for you to align with it. You ask, when will it happen? When will I see it? But that is not the question. The real question is, do you believe it is already done? Because the moment you truly believe, the moment you know beyond all doubt that what is meant for you cannot be taken from you, that is the moment everything shifts. You've been walking through doors you thought were leading you somewhere, only to find them closing in your face. You've been holding on to things that were never meant for you. Relationships, jobs, opportunities, identities that no longer fit who you are becoming. And you have asked, why is this happening? But what you see as rejection is in truth divine protection. What you see as loss is preparation for something far greater. You were never meant to remain in places that no longer serve you. You were never meant to cling to the familiar out of fear of the unknown. The life you desire, the future that is waiting for you, requires you to let go of everything that is keeping you tied to an old version of yourself. You cannot step into what is coming while holding on to what is meant to be left behind. But here is the truth. God does not take things from you without the intention of giving you something greater. When something is removed, it is only to make space for something far beyond your understanding. When a door closes, it is only because a better one is about to open. If you could see what is being prepared for you, you would never again question why something had to leave. You would never again resist the shifts that are taking place in your life. You have prayed for change, you have asked for more, you have sought a greater purpose, and now the very things you have prayed for are being set into motion. But the manifestation of these prayers does not always come in the way you expect. Sometimes, before things can come together, they must first fall apart. Sometimes, before you can step into the promise, you must first be stripped of everything that is not aligned with it. Do not fight the transformation that is happening. Do not resist the process. It may not look the way you thought it would, but trust that it is leading you exactly where you are meant to be. There are moments in life when you must walk by faith alone, when you must move forward even when the path is unclear. This is one of those moments. The plan is unfolding even now. The pieces are coming together even now. You may not see it, you may not feel it, but that does not mean it is not happening. Just as the seed grows beneath the soil before it ever breaks the surface, so too is your destiny unfolding in the unseen before it manifests in the visible. There will come a time when you look back on this season and realize that everything, every delay, every detour, every moment of uncertainty was necessary, that every struggle was shaping you, every closed door was redirecting you, every unanswered prayer was making room for something far greater than you had envisioned. You will understand why certain things had to end, why certain people had to leave, why certain opportunities had to pass you by. But until that time comes, you must hold on to the truth that what is coming is far greater than anything you are leaving behind. The mind will try to convince you that you are losing, but in truth you are being positioned for something that will leave you in awe. The enemy of progress is doubt, and doubt arises when you focus on what is happening instead of what has already been written. You do not need to know the how, you do not need to know the when, you only need to know that it is already done. The universe is not waiting on circumstances to align, it is waiting on you to believe. It is waiting on you to stop questioning, to stop hesitating, to stop looking at what is in front of you and start trusting what has already been declared over your life. When you step into this truth, when you move in faith instead of fear, you become unstoppable. The world cannot shake you. Circumstances cannot deter you. You will walk through every storm with the confidence that nothing can stand in the way of what has been divinely ordained for you. So let go of the need to control. Release the need to understand every detail. Stop trying to force doors open that are meant to remain closed. Your only task is to trust, to believe, to align your thoughts and actions with the truth that what is coming will not just meet your expectations but exceed them in ways you never imagined. There is a divine order to all things. What is meant for you cannot be rushed, nor can it be delayed. It will arrive at the perfect time, in the perfect way, and when it does, you will stand in awe at how every moment, every challenge, every disappointment, every tear was necessary to bring you to the place you were always meant to be. But you do not need to wait until then to feel the joy, the peace, the certainty. You can step into it now. You can claim it now. You can walk forward now, knowing that the path is already laid before you. The journey may not look the way you thought it would, but the destination is certain, the promise is real, the plan is unfolding. What is coming will shock you, not because it is impossible, but because it is inevitable. It has already been written. It has already been prepared. The only thing that remains is for you to step forward and receive it. There is a shift happening even now, a divine movement rearranging things on your behalf. You may not see it yet, you may not feel it yet, but it is happening. Just as the ocean tides are moved by forces unseen, so too is your life being guided by a hand far greater than your own. And what is coming will not just surprise you, It will redefine everything you thought was possible. You have been walking through seasons of waiting, through moments where nothing seemed to make sense. You have questioned, you have wondered, you have asked, why is this happening? But if you knew the answer, if you could see the full picture, you would understand that nothing was wasted, nothing was in vain. Every moment has been building towards something greater, something far beyond your understanding. The discomfort you feel is not a sign of abandonment. It is a sign of transformation. The tension, the uncertainty, the moments when you feel stretched beyond your limit, these are not punishments. They are preparations. Just as a caterpillar must be enclosed in darkness before it emerges with wings, so too must you go through moments of uncertainty before stepping into the fullness of your destiny. You were not created for mediocrity. You were not meant to live a small life confined by fear and hesitation. You were meant for greatness, for expansion, for impact. But to step into that, you must first release everything that is not in alignment with where you are going. The things, the people, the habits, the thoughts that once served you may no longer fit the person you are becoming. Let them go. Do not mourn what is leaving. Do not cling to what was. The past served its purpose. It was a chapter, not the whole story. And what is coming will not only replace what was lost, but it will surpass it in ways you never expected. The plan for your life is not fragile. It is not dependent on perfect conditions. It is not at the mercy of other people's opinions or actions. No one can take from you what has been divinely appointed to you. No mistake you have made can cancel what has already been written. No delay, no detour, no failure can alter what is destined to unfold. You may think you have lost time. You may feel that you have wasted years. But listen to me. Nothing is lost in the hands of the divine. Time bends in the presence of purpose. What you thought would take years will happen in moments. What seemed impossible will come with ease. And when it does, you will wonder why you ever doubted in the first place. But before that moment comes, you must believe without seeing. You must trust without proof. That is the test. That is the moment where faith is required. It is easy to believe once the doors open, once the opportunities arrive, once everything is laid before you. But the real power, the real transformation happens when you believe while you are still in the dark. When you trust before there is evidence, when you walk forward even when the path is not yet visible. The greatest moments in life do not come with warnings. They do not announce themselves. They arrive suddenly, like a whisper in the wind, like a shift in the atmosphere. And in that moment, you will know, this is what I was waiting for. This is what I was being prepared for. But you do not have to wait until that moment to live with the confidence that it is already done. You can walk in that assurance now. You can move as though it has already happened, because in the divine realm it already has. The only thing that remains is for you to align yourself with it, to step into the frequency of faith, so that what is written in the unseen can manifest in the seen. Do not allow the illusions of this world to convince you that you are alone. Do not let the temporary struggles convince you that you are forsaken. You are being guided, held, led. And if you could see from a higher perspective, if you could glimpse the fullness of what is unfolding, you would never again doubt. There is more for you, more than what you have settled for, more than what you have imagined, more than what the world has told you is possible. And the moment you decide to believe in the unseen more than the seen, the moment you trust in what is already yours, the floodgates will open. But you must be ready. You must be willing to release everything that is no longer serving your highest good. You must be prepared to step into the unknown with the confidence that what is waiting for you is greater than anything you are leaving behind. This is not a time for hesitation. This is not a time to look back. This is a time to step forward with unwavering faith, knowing that what is coming is not just what you asked for, it is more. It is greater, it is beyond. And when it arrives, you will look back on this moment and realize that it was always meant to be. You were never lost, you were never forgotten. Every step, even the ones that felt like detours, even the ones that felt like failures, were leading you here. And now the time has come. The shift is happening. The doors are opening. And nothing can stop what is already in motion. You may not understand the magnitude of what is happening in your life right now. You may not see how every event, every shift, every closed door, and every unexpected detour is leading you exactly where you need to be. But trust this. Nothing is out of alignment. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is happening outside the divine plan that has already been written for you. You may be questioning, wondering if things are ever going to change, if the path before you will ever become clear. But what if I told you that the clarity you seek is already within you? What if I told you that the very power you think you are waiting on has been waiting on you? There is nothing outside of you that you need. You already possess everything necessary to step into the life you were destined to live. Too often we seek confirmation from the world. We wait for signs, for proof, for validation that we are on the right path. But faith does not wait for evidence. Faith moves before the proof appears. Faith acts as though the promise has already been fulfilled. And it is that kind of faith that shifts the course of destiny, that accelerates divine timing, that unlocks the doors you thought would never open. But there is a process to this journey. You cannot skip the steps. You cannot rush what is meant to unfold in its appointed time. A foundation must be built before the structure can rise. And that is what has been happening in your life. You have been in the preparation phase, the strengthening, the refining, the molding into the person you need to become in order to receive what is already waiting for you. If you were given everything you desired too soon, you would not be able to sustain it. If the doors opened before you were ready, you would not be able to walk through them with the wisdom and strength required to remain there. What you call waiting is not delay. It is divine alignment. It is the perfect orchestration of events so that when your moment arrives, you are prepared to step into it fully. There are moments when you will feel tested, moments when you will be stretched beyond what you thought you could endure. And in those moments, it may seem as if nothing is working, as if the promise has been forgotten, as if the plan has been abandoned. But the truth is, those are the moments when the most work is being done. The most profound transformations happen in the unseen, beneath the surface, in the silent spaces where faith is tested and strengthened. You may feel like you are walking through fire, but that fire is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to refine you, to burn away everything that is not in alignment with where you are going. It is meant to prepare you for the magnitude of what is ahead. Do not resist the process. Do not shrink in fear. Walk through it with the knowing that you are being made into something greater than you can yet comprehend. The breaking, the stretching, the discomfort, it is all part of the journey. It is all leading to the moment when everything changes, because that moment is coming. The shift is not a question of if, but when. And when it arrives, you will understand why you had to go through everything you did. You will see how the pieces fit together, how the delays were not denials, how the rejections were actually redirections. But even now, before that moment arrives, you have a choice. You can choose to walk in doubt, to question the plan, to live in fear, or you can choose to trust fully, to step into the certainty that what has been promised is already yours. And that choice, that decision, is what determines how quickly the doors will open, how swiftly the blessings will unfold. The universe does not operate on hesitation. It does not respond to doubt. It moves in accordance with faith, with certainty, with the unwavering belief that what is meant for you is already on its way. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for signs. Stop waiting for something outside of you to give you permission to move forward. Everything you need has already been placed within you. The path is already set. The timing is already ordained. All you must do is step forward. Even if you do not see the whole road ahead, even if the way is unclear, move anyway. The doors will open as you walk. The clarity will come as you trust. The breakthroughs will manifest as you align yourself fully with the knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, that nothing is out of place, that everything is happening exactly as it should. This is your time, this is your moment. What is coming is far greater than you have imagined. And when it arrives, you will look back and realize that it was never a matter of chance, but a matter of divine intention. It was always meant to be. And now, the only thing that remains is for you to step into it. And so here you stand, on the threshold of something greater than you have ever known. The waiting, the refining, the stretching, it has all led to this moment. You are not lost, you are not behind, you are exactly where you need to be. And everything you have walked through has been preparing you for what is coming. No more hesitation, no more questioning, no more waiting for signs. The signs have always been there, written in the quiet urgings of your soul, in the unshakable knowing that there is more for you, and now the time has come to step fully into that knowing, to walk forward with unwavering faith, to trust that what is meant for you cannot be taken from you. You were never waiting on God, God was waiting on you, waiting for you to believe, to rise, to claim the life that has always been yours. The shift is already in motion. The doors are already opening. What is coming will not just meet your expectations, it will exceed them in ways you never imagined. Step forward, trust, and watch as the impossible becomes your reality.